Hey y'all, hey, it's Hey Media Money, and we are back with the Media Sip to get into episode 3 of Sean Combs' The Reckoning. It is the #1 documentary on Netflix right now, and so much tea was spilled, so much to get into. If you are new here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It is so much that I need to talk about with this documentary. Like, y'all, I watched it 2 days ago. It is still sitting in my spirit. So I definitely want you to lock in with me. Let's talk about it. I really want to know y'all thoughts. Tell me what parts were shocking for you. What did you already know? And if you watched it, drop a coffee mug in the chat. That's our symbol over here. We are the Media Sip. Pour up a drink. Let's watch a show and let me know what you think. All right, so let's get into it. This is episode 3 of The Reckoning. It was titled Official Girl. And if you're a millennial like me, you had this classic on your iPod Nano, listening to it on the way to school. I know I'm not the only one. I used to have that Cassie going. Official Girl was a bop. I know everybody talk about Me and You. No, Official Girl. Listen. But let's get into it, y'all. Okay, September 10th, 2024, the documentary opens to us seeing Diddy in the car 6 days before he's arrested. He's on FaceTime with Dana Tran, who is listed as his girlfriend at the time. So y'all know I had to look it up. So she is the mother of his last child, the baby that he has, the little girl, Love Combs. That's the mom. And the crazy thing is, when you look her up, like, it just talks about all these accomplishments she's made in tech. Like, they're like, oh, she's a cybersecurity scientist and all these things. And she looks pretty, like, well-educated, highly acclaimed type of woman. And Diddy's talking to her like, yeah, baby, I'm about to pull 200 mil out the bank. They keeping the bank open for me. And y'all, she is just, mind you, never says, baby, I'm gonna give you some, or baby, what you need? Check your cash app, check the wire. Like, she's getting some of the money. He just is bragging to her that he's getting the money out. And she's just squealing like, oh my God. Like, y'all, it was so cringe. Specifically, it was cringe to me because nothing about Diddy that we've learned in the last 2 episodes shows that he's a generous man at all. So dating a man with money, but the money, he's not generous with the money, baby, that's not your money. So it was just weird. Anyway, but with this, they start talking about him with women, and we see a montage of Diddy and Kim, with her holding little Christian Combs at the time. And we start to see interviews with Diddy's former security guy, Roger Bonds. Roger Bonds and Gene Deal have done quite a few interviews before. So everything they kind of said has been posted on other platforms, but, you know, is what it is. But Roger Bonds confirmed that, like, he would hear fights with Diddy and Kim Porter, but he never saw him, like, physically hit her, which, let me know what y'all think in the comments. If someone is privy to abuse and they don't do anything about it, are they implicated? Should they be? Should they also be, you know, in trouble for that? Is that something that they should also be should they be penalized for it? Let me know what y'all thoughts on that. Because it was quite a few people in this documentary that openly admitted, like, yeah, I saw things and I didn't say nothing. You can tell the guilt is eating them up. But is there anything else that they may need? Something else, you know, any other charges, anything they should get? What y'all think? Let me know. But yeah, Roger Bond says he saw, and Kim Porter would come out looking like disheveled and everything, but he never he never saw it with his own eyes. He would just hear it. We then see videos of Diddy and Cassie And the first thing I noticed, y'all, for one, beautiful gal, always has been. But Cassie is very tiny. Like, she is a very small woman. And it's so sad to know just like all the trauma she experienced at that. Like, she was so small. Like, it was just like, you could tell if you like pinched her, she would bruise. So it's like, to know she went through all of that. It's just, But yes, so we flash back to Bad Boy after Big has passed away. And at this point, we get full on, Diddy. This is Diddy that's on Ellen. This is Diddy that's on the main stage. This is Diddy that, started his own clothing line. Everything at this point is placing Diddy at the forefront. There is no more background dancer. There is no more, I'm just the A&R producer. He is now the artist and the number one thing. The funny thing is, though, Diddy does not have writing abilities. Diddy cannot play instruments. He doesn't have, as Albie Shore said in the first episode, Diddy doesn't have musical talent. And as much as it's like forbidden in the black culture, Diddy has ghostwriters. And I think it's so interesting that as much as other people have been fried, jokes galore for having actual ghostwriters, why was that never put on Diddy? Because Mark Curry is very openly, and too, these things can all be checked in the credits, but Mark Curry is like, yeah, no, I wrote those things for him. And he gets into how he was ghostwriting for him and had to teach him how to perform. Y'all, there is a clip of Mark Curry imitating him. Like, Mark Curry raps lyrics that he wrote, and it flowed so beautifully, like coming out of his voice. And then he imitated how Diddy performed it. Baby, I cackled. I didn't even I cackled. It was hilarious. But then it just goes to show you again, just the performance of it all. It's always, he's so performative. Like, it's not something that comes natural to him. And for me, someone that's been around like natural artists, okay, like, I have real friends that can really just rap, okay? Like, not even trying. Real singers. I'm like, Diddy can't do none of that. But at the time, he is basking in his celebrity status. He is dating J-Lo at this time, y'all. This is when we get J-Lo in the infamous green Versace low-cut dress. Okay, that is this time. And now we get into everything that happened with Shine. So Shine and the artist Mark Curry that was on Bad Boy back in the 90s and then became Diddy's like ghostwriter, they're living in the same apartment. And, Mark Curry's like, he was always a nice guy, but, loved his voice. He was great lyricist, all the things. So we get into December 1999. And I do just want to point this out. For Mark Curry and Shine to be living together just again shows the manipulative side of Diddy, because you couldn't get your new artist who was literally on the charts. Like, do not, first of all, the way that Shine and Barrington Levy song is still in my rotation to this day. Bad Boy. Like, what? Such a classic. I know that song probably went platinum. Diddy, you couldn't finance an apartment? A little high rise in Manhattan for your new artist? Crazy work. You had this man living in here you had him being a roommate with Mark Curry. I know we don't want to hear this because of capitalism, but y'all, so much, it's very hard. I just got to say it. Ethical billionaires don't exist. They're exploiting somebody somewhere. And all throughout the doc, we kind of just see those moments of Diddy and his exploitation of his artists. It's very common for him. But December 1999, we get into the club incident where Natanya Rubin suffers from a pew 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 wound to her face. She's hit in her face, y'all. To this day, she is a remarkable woman. So beautiful, so strong. She did an amazing interview with Jessie Woo. I'm always going to shout out my fellow media girlies. Make sure you check out the interview with Jessie Woo and Natanya Rubin, where she fully gives full details of the situation and talks about how the entire industry treated her after all of that. Because I think a lot of people think that they just know, oh, the woman that was a victim of that night. Natanya was a thriving entrepreneur. You got to think about it. For her to be in the same circles as those celebrities, sis was making moves. And I sometimes hate that gets overshadowed, just all this woman accomplished. Y'all got to really hear her story. Check out that interview with Jessie Woo. 8 months earlier, though, just further getting into the thread of Diddy's behavior. 8 months earlier, before that incident, Puffy had assaulted Steve Stout over a dispute for the video for Hate Me Now. Nas song. You can hate me now. Okay. So in that video, Puff was literally on the Christ like he was Jesus of Nazareth. And gospel artist Hezekiah Walker came and was like, baby, we don't do that. Take that. Go on, take that down. So Puff goes to Steve Stout like, okay, yeah, we got to remove that. And Steve Stout like, no, it's already paid for. Like, the visuals are up. People have seen it. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Y'all, why did Puffy turn a situation about religion into him beating the man up? Because mind you, this is all linked to that imagery. Hezekiah Walker's like, yeah, you got to, show more respect to the Christian faith. I said, not Diddy beating people up in the name of the Lord. What? So, yes. He beat him up to the point that Steve Stout had to be hospitalized. Unfortunately, he paid him off, though. You see videos of them smiling and giggling together after the fact. But, y'all, just this rap sheet, this thread of just violence and mayhem and destruction that follows Diddy, man. It's sick. But the documentary then gets into Shine and the case that led Shine to have to serve 10 years in jail. And as soon as he got out, be returned back to his home of Belize. Granted, Shine has gone on to do amazing things for Belize. He has really became such a pivotal for his people in Belize as their prime minister. He's really like revolutionized their tourism dollar industry and everything. Like, Shine really, really, truly did a lot for his people. And I hate that he had to get to that place in life through this avenue. But, everybody's journey is different, baby. Everybody's journey is unique and divinely ordered. But if you want to get more into that, here's another documentary recommendation. It's called The Honorable Shine. Amazing doc. Very amazing doc. The only thing I wish they would have did was include Natanya Rubin in that documentary. But it does focus more on Shine and like how the legal system went for him and then how he became the man that he is today. Great doc, though. I love a good redemption arc, and that documentary definitely gets into that. But so yeah, Shine goes to jail for that charge. And after all of that, none of Diddy's artists really want to be around him. This is during the time, y'all, where Mace, you remember Mace left, and Mace was like, oh, I'm Mace and Betha. I'm going to be a preacher now, a reverend or whatever he went on to be. 112 was having issues with their members. I don't even think Total was together at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody kind of was just started to kind of dissipate. So they weren't making them money anymore. So Diddy had to legit like reinvent himself. And now we get to 2002, where Diddy gives us the reality TV monster that he became with Making the Band. Now, I'm not going to lie, y'all. I was tuned in. Locked in faithfully. But with the reality TV show Making the Band, Diddy gave us the band, he gave us Danity Kane, and Day 26. We get interviews in this documentary from some of those members. We see Babs Bunny, my girl. I'm back and I'm hitting them hard. Just don't sag. I don't want to push a bra. Love Babs. If y'all think I'm still not listening to that album in 2025, I am. I am. But Babs Bunny, Aubrey O'Day, you know she's never going to miss an opportunity to kick his back in, and Q from Day 26. And y'all, I'm not going to hold you. Like I said, I was locked into every single season. Me and my big brother watched that faithfully. We still quote things from those shows to this day. It was quality reality TV show that really revolutionized the competition reality TV. It did. We see the scene of the infamous walk to Brooklyn for the cheesecake. Seeing them scenes took me back so bad. That scene when he made them sing, when he made the girls in Danity Kane sing I Love You Forever for hours. Do y'all remember that? An absolute menace. Okay. Drop a mug down in the chat if you remember the Danity Kane girls singing I love you forever. No, I can't sing. Don't joke on me. But do y'all remember that? Okay, but his security admitted that, because we all watched it in the show, but his security even admitted in the documentary that Aubrey O'Day got it worse than any of the other members. And for me, I always thought he was attracted to her. It always gave that Diddy wanted Aubrey. And lo and behold, Aubrey pulls out receipts. Aubrey starts to read us in the documentary, read us very explicit emails about Diddy wanting to be intimate with her. He's saying, like, describing what he would do and just how he would carry it, and just super inappropriate. Like, y'all, that's her boss at the end of the day. She didn't accept the advances. 6 months later, she's fired. Diddy then pulls Don, and you remember Danity Kane was done. Diddy then pulls Don from Danity Kane to create a separate group for himself. He adds in Kalina Harper, and that's when we get Dirty Money in 2009. I just hate it so bad, y'all, because that was such a good album. Is this a safe space? That was a good album. But y'all, he really used to dress Kalina and Don alike. Same hair, same outfits. Kalina was in the documentary, and she says that Don's relationship with Diddy was weird. And then she said this little slick thing of like, what would you say or do to try to be the significant other of a billionaire? I don't know. But at that time, Cassie's around. So Cassie came into play in 2016. She was 19 years old. 19, a baby. She was initially dating the very talented, the very smart Ryan Leslie. But I'm on his head too, because at the time, he was 10 years older than Cassie. And then Diddy, on his typical I'ma steal your girl mess, he then steals Cassie from Ryan Leslie, and Diddy is 37 at the time. She's 19, he's 37. So the age gaps were there. The grooming was there. The power dynamic was there. The dominance over her was there. The dangling of fame and fortune and a singing career was there. And Diddy gets her signed into a 10-album deal. Diddy also gets Ciroc at this time. So again, this is prime time Diddy, y'all, where he's all over the place and he's everywhere. And at this point, Cassie and Kim overlap. Even though he never married her, Kim Porter is she's viewed as the wife and Cassie's the wifey. which I really pray my people get free from that, baby. Because the wifey, I tell people all the time, if something tragic happens, wifey is not acknowledged in a court of law. You can't do anything to protect that estate, y'all's children, nothing. Wifey just sounds cute because Next made that little song. It does not hold any weight. But moving on. You could really tell Cassie was his trophy. And he kept dangling for her this promise of like, oh, your album is next. Your album is next. Had this girl in the studio knowing good and doggone well he was not going to let her do no 10 albums. Because for one, at the time, he's performing. Like Diddy is the star. He's performing with Dirty Money. And now we get into the mess. So we get into the escorts. We see on the screen Manhattan Men, like a glimpse of what the website looks like. And it's legit, y'all. Like you shopping on Fashion Nova. It's just pictures. And I guess you could click on them and see little profiles, I'm assuming. But then in the documentary, we meet Clayton Howard. And he walks us through their intimate time. He's one of the escorts from their time. And he confirms a lot of what we heard in the trial. He's like, yeah, Diddy went by Frank Black and he directed the entire encounter. And according to Clayton, they would last 18 to 20 hours. And then they would pay him $6,000. They would give him $6,000. And he said he would see them every 2 to 3 weeks for over 8 years. He said there was a time that they were collecting his male juices. I got to use my words carefully here, y'all. Stick with me. Yeah. That was in there, which we heard a lot of that in the trial. And they cut to clips of Diddy on the Ellen show. And it was so cringe because it was like, yeah, how I get down. And Ellen's just like giggling like, oh, yeah, we do. We know how you party. And it was just like, ew. Like, it's like everybody just knew and was like, oh, you know how Diddy is. Like, it was, ugh. But Clayton did share something that I thought was even more just so weird. Clayton said that every March 9th, which marked the day that Biggie passed away, he said no matter where they were in the world, Diddy would fly him out to party with them for days. And he said that they did that, they were able to be up for them days like that because they used a lot of E. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And then we see photos of it in the government exhibits. Again, masterful work from the director and the documentarian, Alex Stapleton. The storytelling and the pacing of this documentary is so good. And yeah, because at this point, she starts showing government exhibits in the documentary. So we're seeing the actual images that the jurors saw, which we hadn't seen those yet as the public, but it's in this documentary. Real good, real good. We get back to his co-founder for Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, and he talks about a time when Puff and Kim had a dispute. They had a little lover spat that resulted in a cut on Puff's wrist. And he literally said it. He was like, I don't know if he did that, if that happened in the heat of him and Kim, or he did that in an attempt to get Kim's attention on some like, oh, I'm unalive myself. He said he didn't really know. But he said that's when Diddy got on the opioids. So that's when the addiction started. Because he said back in the day, and they said this in the other 2 episodes, Diddy was not a drinker. He didn't do the things that get you elevated. He was not one of those when he first started. But it was like when the money came and all the things, and then this little incident happened where he started with the opioids. A little perky. Then now he's stuck. Now you remember they used to teach us in school gateway. It was gateway. It took him up. It took him further. It took him out of here. And yeah, and that was going on back then. So that's what, early 2000s, and he's been doing that faithfully into 2025. Not excusing his actions and what he has done, but that man clearly has a problem and is an addict. He's an addict. But Kalina Harper, who was in Dirty Money, she confirmed. She was like, yeah. She was like, Diddy had this thing where he liked to do 14 days straight of work. Meaning you're in the studio all day, every day, you're singing. Once you leave the studio, it's rehearsals, it's performances, it's all the, like, she was like, he liked to do 14 days straight, like 14 days on and like a week off. And when he was on the weeks that the week he had off, he was doing the freak offs. But Kalina said while he was working for the 14 days straight, she said it was Johnson & Johnson powders everywhere. Stick with me, y'all. Y'all know I can't say certain things. Okay. So we get back to the escort Clayton, and he claims that there was G Herbo in the baby oil. Now, this was mentioned initially in the court rumors, like when it first came out, that there were things implanted in the baby oil because it was so much baby oil. So everybody was like, what is the baby oil about? What is baby oil about? But there was supposed to be this like mind altering thing inside of the baby oil that people were not privy to, like you didn't know about, like you didn't know it, but this is being put on you and it's affecting your mental, allegedly. Clayton said that was a thing. We heard it at the beginning of the court trial, and then that rumor kind of just disappeared and was never confirmed. At the end of this episode, it says, Cassie said that wasn't a thing. Diddy said that wasn't a thing. But I'm like, so where did that come from? Who came up with that? Who would just say that? Like, where did that come from? Who said that? I don't know. But as the escort is telling about their wild escapades, y'all, they are sharing clips in the documentary of this wild ass commercial ad that Diddy and Cassie shot together. It was called like 3 a.m. She's topless in most of it. She's running around the city. They're like pushing each other up against the walls and like, kissing all on each other, like they can't resist each other. And I'm just looking like, but it gives like wild night, like wow, rock star lifestyle type of night. And I'm just like, you see them, smashing glass and just doing all the stuff. And then she's topless. And then it's just like, oh, I'm like, y'all, it was really right there in plain sight. We really didn't know. We ain't see it. It was right there. It was right there. So his former security talks about how Diddy was actually nervous. Because then we cut to, yes, that ad was super crazy right in our faces. But okay. So next we cut, because again, the documentary is showing us flashbacks and present, the present day time. So the documentary cuts back to Diddy being out, in Harlem. And I thought that this part was King Petty Troll Curtis 50 Cent Jackson at his best. Because that was another part that I know he was like, keep that in there. So if you follow Diddy for any amount of time, I mean, since the Rock the Vote days, okay, who's a millennial in here with me this evening? Because do y'all remember Diddy was always like, I'm for the people. Like that was really his thing that he just always marketed about himself. Like he would be out in the middle of the crowd with the people if he could. But thanks to this little never before seen footage, we see Diddy out in Harlem, shaking hands, taking all these pictures, doing all this stuff. And Diddy's former security was like, yeah, Diddy actually was nervous to be around so many black people. And we then see him literally get in the car after like hugging people, taking pictures with them. And like, y'all, nobody was doing anything egregious. Nobody looked, and I don't even say, no one looked unhoused or homeless or like they stink. Like, it's literally regular people. And Diddy gets in the car and he's like, oh man, I need to go take a bath with peroxide. I need hand sanitizer. Like, he was disgusted at the idea of just like being with regular people. Again, completely contradictory to that persona. But with him, everything is so performative. He do all that mess for the narrative. And it's a lot of black people like that, y'all, unfortunately, that do not like to be around black people until they need shit from black people. And that was the perfect way that was depicted, because that man was acting as if, I mean, his skin was crawling at the idea of shaking the hand of a common person in the place that he's supposed to be from. You so Harlem, and you can't dap a nigga up in Harlem? Like, that's filthy? Psh. Child. But yes, we literally hear all that proud black man stuff, and baby Diddy said he needed hand sanitizer after he touched them black people hands, child. When black people literally have made him everything that he is. Everything. We have supported as a people everything. I will never forget my Ciroc era. Was there with him. I was. Had it. Did. Drank it. Regret it. But I did. Like, we were all there. We were there. Sean John, we were there. Trust me. We all supported. So, like I said, that was really like, ugh, not you acting like that. But I'm telling you, I bet it all. 50 knew what he was doing, leaving that in that documentary. But now, y'all, we do got to get into the part where Cassie drops her lawsuit. So we get to November 16th of 2023, and Cassie drops, I mean, something that just shifted the world in the details that she provided with that lawsuit. And in the documentary, we have to watch that absolutely horrifying video of her in the hotel hallway again, where he's literally dragging her, kicking her, and all of that. And from there, y'all, it is an overlapping montage of lawsuit. Today, Sean Diddy Combs lawsuit. There's been another lawsuit. I'm just like, and this was the part for me that was insane. There were more than 100 cases filed against this man. Even with him being in jail right now, as I speak, he still has 77 pending. Y'all, everybody ain't lying. Everybody's not doing a money grab. And every time I see things like that in such an abundance, I always think of, and these are only the people who are really like brave and comfortable enough, or even felt it was worth it enough to come forward. You know how many times someone's a victim and they're just like, yeah, but it ain't worth it. Ain't nothing gonna happen. I think it's probably double the amount of those people who just like, it ain't worth it to do it, you know? But we see Diddy telling his homeboy, like, yeah, you know, Don dropped a lawsuit on me, like almost like smirking at it, y'all, like it's funny to him. And in the documentary, because he had this videographer following him around, because to me, Diddy really thought that he was getting out. He really thought he was gonna, you know, use this as some narrative to paint this idea of like, oh, people keep trying to keep the black man down. Like, because nothing else would make sense of why he would be recording him having these conversations. But this is maybe 6 days before Diddy is arrested. And he's laughing at the fact that his former bandmate, Don Richard, dropped a lawsuit on him. And then he's calling Kalina Harper. He's calling people, and he's like, I don't know what level of brokenness disease is going around. Everybody broke trying to come for me, come for me. And he's like, now all of a sudden I'm a monster. But Don, you was on my last album. You was on my last album. How I'm a monster. How you hate me and you just was with me. And it's just like, yikes. You really do not get... Maybe he does get it, child. Let me not even give him that benefit of the doubt. But it just showed the level of arrogance that this man has, y'all. And it was just nasty for me. It was just nasty. But that concludes episode 3. Like I said, all in all, more than 100 cases were filed against Diddy. Even right now to this day, he still has 77 pending. Diddy and Cassie did deny that the baby oil was laced. But again, where did that come from? Who said that then, if that's not a thing? The escort said that it was. Where did that... Who just made that up? But like I said, the biggest part of this episode that was so like jarring and hard to watch for me was the part where they mixed the past footage of Cassie doing that nude photo shoot, where, like I said, the one that they were just kind of like living like rock stars and being kind of weird. They kind of spliced that with a vivid voiceover detailing the abuse that she endured. So it's showing her like super glamorous and in this ad where she's topless and in designer and all this stuff, but you're hearing her talk about her abuse. And then they're also inputting real images of her bruised body. In addition, like it was all just spliced together in such a way that was deeply, deeply unsettling and upsetting. Like, I was upset. I was just like, oh my God, this is... But that is what a documentary is supposed to do. It's what a doc is supposed to do, baby. It's what a doc is supposed to do. It is supposed to draw that emotion from you. It is supposed to draw you into the story. And I will continue to say, Alex Stapleton, you did your biggest one, sister. I am so glad that she had financial backing and an EP as big as someone as 50 Cent. Because y'all can say what y'all want, but that man don't call himself Green Light Gang for nothing, okay? 50 said he was going to do it, and he did it. And say what you want, but 50 always supports women directors, and I just hope he keeps that energy for when I get up in there, okay? When I make my documentary. But yes, y'all. Okay, so that was episode 3 of The Reckoning. We are closing down to the final episode. And yeah, please drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what was the most shocking part for you in all of this so far. What parts do you believe? What parts don't you believe? What parts do you feel like are a little fabricated? Which parts did you want them to dive more into? I'm going to give all of my final thoughts in the last and final video in episode 4. So make sure that you're following me so you can stay on track and stay with me. I am on all socials at Hey Media Money. Make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube page because I'm trying to hit 1,000 by the end of December. And yeah, make sure you following the Media Sip, baby, because pour you a drink, watch a show, and tell me what you think. That's what we do over here. So, and I'm a lock to be on a red carpet too, so stay tuned for that. You never know who I might talk to or where I might be. So make sure that you following me so you can keep up. Come on now. But peace and love, y'all. Catch y'all in the next one.